Hello and welcome to my channel, iWinDeluxe Gaming. Zani is here in Wuthering Waves and she is one of the most anticipated and, let's face it, most handsome employees of the month, rivaling the legendary Dwight Schrute. In today's ultimate guide video, you'll learn everything you need to know about Zani.
I can spare a minute to knock some heads around. No contest.
In the office, Zani is a model worker never late to her job at the Montelli family's Alvarado Bank. On the battlefield, she's clocking in overtime to destroy her enemies with compound interest. Zani is a Spectro DPS character that requires Frazzle to output some incredible damage. Is she as frazzobulous at destroying her enemies as much as bankers are at offering you a low interest bank account with dozens of hidden fees? Well, in this video, we'll find out by going over her kit, her main rotation, echoes and stats, best weapons, best teams, her sequences, a showcase, and finally my opinion at the end of the video.
I don't have all day. Come on.
Quick note, this video was filmed on the media server and things may be subject to change upon the official release. Please check the comments below to see if anything changed. Zani's kit is, well, zany, but thankfully, once you get past the legal documentation that is her kit description, she's surprisingly intuitive to play. Zani's basic attacks are useful for filling up her top forte bar. Zani actually has many options for filling up her top forte bar, and once it's full, she can use her enhanced skill, which provides her with the sunburst buff, which amplifies her spectro frazzle damage by 20%. As such, we'll want to fill Zani's top forte bar to be able to use her enhanced skill for the sunburst buff. One method is to use her basic 1, basic 2, basic 3, and then wait for a little bit for her to sit in her chair, as this will allow you to follow it up with a special basic 4. This combo conveniently fully fills up her top forte bar while also giving her a short break mid-combo, and it is quite useful for the overworld where you don't always have an intro skill available. The second option assumes you do have an intro skill, which fills up around half of her top forte bar. Simply perform her intro, then mash that left mouse button like it owes you money to perform B1 through 4, and that will fill up your top forte bar. And the third option, which is my personal favorite, is to intro her onto the field, use her skill, and after her regular skill, Zani can follow it up with her basic 3. And just like that, she'll fully fill up her forte bar, so then you can use her enhanced skill. So yeah, those are but a few of the many ways Zani can generate a full top forte bar. Zani has frankly many other options, but this is at least a decent starting point. Anyway, that's the perfect segue to talk about her skill and enhanced skill. Her skill and enhanced skill are able to temporarily freeze the enemy if you block an attack from the enemy with, well, her skill or enhanced skill. Not only does this nullify one instance of damage, it also helps break the enemy's toughness bar and reduces the damage that Zani takes. This is great for skill issue players like myself, and these blocks feel very satisfying and impactful when you pull them off. Finally, we've reached the part of Zani's kit that actually matters, and that's the part that hits harder than an overdraft fee while you're in college, her resonance liberation. But before we talk about her liberation, you probably noticed that she has a bottom forte bar. Zani can fill up her bottom forte bar via a couple approaches. One way is with the earlier enhanced skill, which fills it up a tiny bit. But the main way to fill up this bottom forte bar all the way is for her teammates to apply Spectro Frazzle to the enemy. So yeah, now we can finally talk about her resonance liberation.
I don't have all day.
After Zani uses her liberation, she effectively converts her bottom forte bar plus some into this third new fiery blaze forte bar, where hitting an enemy now with her new basic attacks will consume this new blaze forte bar. Zani can perform a 3-hit basic attack string, with the third hit's damage increasing based on how much blaze she consumes for that third hit, and that third hit takes a very long time. And during her liberation, Zani's resonance skill is yet again further enhanced, and if she blocks an enemy attack with her resonance skill during her liberation, she's able to skip B1 and B2 to go straight into her very damaging B3. Alright, and one last detail about her basic attacks during her liberation is that they all count as Spectro Frazzle damage. Finally, after Zani either basically runs out of blaze or 8 seconds have passed, she now has access to her second liberation, which basically just ends her Super Saiyan state in a very stylish fashion. And this next part is honestly quite complicated, but to summarize, Zani has a forte mechanic called Heliacal Ember. As long as Zani's on the team, basically all Spectro Frazzle stacks deal their damage instantly and instead apply Heliacal Ember. These stacks also apply towards the Echo set, the Eternal Radiance's requirement, and finally Zani's outro skill deals more damage based on how many of these stacks are on the enemy. Phew, hopefully that made some sense, but if not, well, then this next section will probably help a lot. It's her rotation. Zani needs either Phoebe or SRover to apply Frazzle, and I'll be giving a quick rotation for both of them. Let's start off with a rotation with Phoebe. First, do your healer stuff as usual, then as a refresher, Phoebe's confession rotation is as follows. Intro, hold her skill, and animation cancel that with her liberation. Then, using basic 1 through 3 allows her to use her hold basic. Do this twice and you'd have applied 18 stacks of Frazzle, which allows Zani to be fully filled up with Blaze, and now you can outro to Zani. With Zani, after you intro her onto the field, use her skill and basic 3 to fill up her forte, and this will let you use her enhanced skill, use her liberation, and do 2 full strings of basic 1 through 3, which will spend your Blaze to the point where you can now use your liberation 2 and outro off the field. There are of course a ton of additional options, and you should definitely use Zani's Resonance skill during her liberation to block an enemy's attack when possible. Also, since Zani's basic 3 during her liberation is a very slow attack, I like swap cancelling it, as you can see in this clip. Next we have an example rotation with SRover. An issue SRover has is that it's actually quite difficult to get 10 plus stacks of Frazzle onto the enemy for Zani to trigger the 5-piece buff from the Eternal Radiance set. So we can save some time by starting the rotation off with Zani's skill into basic 3 swap cancel. Then do your healer stuff and intro SRover onto the field. With Rover, use her enhanced special, then fill up her forte via dodge counters and heavy attacks, and use her liberation and enhanced skill and then outro to Zani. Because SRover only applies 10 to 12 Frazzle stacks compared to Phoebe's 18, and thus isn't able to fill up her Blaze, Zani isn't able to output 2 full basic 1 through 3 attack strings during her liberation. Instead, we can be more Blaze efficient by relying on block countering the enemy's attack, which will also lead to her highly damaging basic 3, or even hold her skill for the full duration, which also leads to B3. And of course, during one of Zani's basic 3s, you can swap to Rover to use an additional enhanced special to apply 2 more stacks of Frazzle, which is why I said 10 to 12 Frazzle stacks earlier. And as we can see, due to the lower Frazzle application of SRover, Zani will need to be a bit more creative in order to output 2 basic 3s. For Zani's talent priority, prioritize her forte above all else, then her resonance liberation, and then her resonance skill, and lastly, her normal attack and intro skill.
No contest.
We've made it to the math section of this video, starting with Zani's echoes, and stats. There is a clear winner for Zani, the Eternal Radiance set. Zani's enhanced special activates the 5-piece set bonus's 20% crit rate buff, and with either SRover or Phoebe, the enemy will have more than 10 stacks of Frazzle/Heliacal Ember, which will activate the 15% spectro damage bonus of the 5-piece set bonus. Interestingly though, for the main equipped Echo, you want to actually equip the 3-cost Capitanus Echo. This thing gives 12% spectro damage and 12% heavy attack damage, and most of Zani's damage is heavy attack damage. Keep in mind that you should still use the usual, well I guess 3-4-3-1-1 setup, but just have the Capitanus equipped in the main slot. As usual, you'll want crit rate or crit damage on the 4-cost Echo, and double spectro damage on the 3-cost Echoes. For Zani, double spectro is highly recommended, as there are very few bonus damage buffs provided to her through her kit or her teammates. And finally, use attack percent as the main stat for your 1-cost Echoes. For substats, you won't be surprised to hear that you'll want to prioritize crit rate and crit damage, then attack percent, and then heavy attack bonus and energy regen. Speaking of energy regen, it always depends on your team, and here are a few breakpoints to target. Generally, Zani wants around 111% to 130% energy regen to consistently liberation every rotation if, everything goes well, and it will depend on what characters she has on her team. Now, one more tip worth mentioning is to watch out for over-critting, as any crit rate over 100% is completely wasted. If you're using the 5-piece Eternal Radiance, when looking at your character stat page while you're out of combat, don't forget to add the 20% crit rate here. Also, if you're using Shorekeeper, she adds up to 12.5% crit rate, making it so you'll need to add 32.5% crit rate to your stat page to get her actual crit rate.
I don't have all day. Come at me.
For gauntlets, as zany as it might sound, Zani's signature gauntlet, the Blazing Justice, is unsurprisingly her best option, as it shreds some defense and provides a very respectable 50% Spectro-Frazzle damage amplification buff, which, as a reminder, her basics during her liberation count as Spectro-Frazzle damage. However, she actually does have some decent other options, although not necessarily super free-to-play friendly, because her next best option is Roche's Gauntlets, the Tragic Comedy. This thing's passive actually works on Zani, providing her 48% heavy attack bonus, which buffs her, her basic/heavy attacks during her liberation state. As such, it's actually quite competitive to her signature gauntlets. We can also see that reflected in my anecdotal testing, where it took the Tragic Comedy just a bit longer to clear Tower 2-1 than the Blazing Justice. Next we have Shangli Yao's weapon, the Verity's Handle, which should perform at around 86.5% of Zani's signature weapon. After that, we have the Abyss Surges, and if you chose that 5-star weapon in the weapon box, this is her next best option, followed by her best fully free-to-play friendly gauntlets, the craftable Legend of Drunken Hero. At this point though, you're doing a lot less damage at only around 70% of her signature gauntlets. There are a couple more choices on this list for you to look at as always.
No contest.
Let's next go through Zani's sequences and investment priority. The best thing you can do to upgrade your Zani is to pull for Phoebe, who conveniently will have her banner running concurrently with Zani. The additional 100% Frazzle damage amplification and 10% Spectral resistance shred is absolutely zany for Zani's damage. Of course, when you use Phoebe with Zani, Phoebe will be playing a supportive role in the Confession state. Phoebe is a huge upgrade over SRover, providing around a 51% increase to Zani's damage output, and as such should be your top priority for Zani. After you pull Phoebe, and then let's say you pull Zani, then I recommend going for Zani's signature gauntlet if your best option is the Abyss Surges or worse. Now before continuing, Zani without Phoebe is still great, but Phoebe is really what pushes Zani over the limits. Next are for Zani's fellow Wall Street bankers who can afford Zani's sequences. Zani's Sequence 1 is very good, increasing Zani's Spectre damage by 50% and adding perfect interrupt resistance during her very long animation Heavy/Nightfall, which is her basic 3 during her liberation. Sequence 2 gives her 20% crit rate, which is nice, and it also gives her enhanced skill 80% more damage multiplier. Sequence 3 basically just adds 1200% multiplier to her liberation 2, which makes it a nice nuke. Sequence 3 is a good stopping point for Zani for Dolphins and Whales unless you plan to go all the way to Sequence 6. Sequence 4 adds 20% attack to the whole team. Sequence 5 improves by 120% the multiplier of the tiny initial hit of activating her liberation, so this is clearly just a stepping stone for her Sequence 6. Sequence 6 might be subject to change from what you're seeing here on the screen, but as it is on the media server and on this screen, it is a very powerful sequence. Here are some initial calculations for her power gains through her sequences, and please check the comments down below for any potential updates due to potential changes on release.
I don't have all day. Come at me.
Now, team building for Zani is fortunately the least zany part of this zany Zani guide. Zani really, and I mean really, needs a teammate that can apply lots of frazzle. As such, there's only two characters that do this, Phoebe and SRover. Phoebe is definitely the best option because her confession state applies enough frazzle for Zani to max out her blaze bar. Also, Phoebe provides a massive damage boost thanks to her outro skill, reducing spectral resistance by 10% and more importantly, granting 100% spectro frazzle damage amplification. Which, as another reminder, Zani's heavy attack string during her liberation count as spectro frazzle damage. Anyway, up next we have SRover, and as great as she is, she falls massively short of Phoebe, but she is still a viable free-to-play friendly option. Personally, I recommend the Moonlit set with the Heron for either Phoebe or SRover when you use them with Zani. For the third slot, you'll generally want to use Shorekeeper, and of course the free-to-play alternative like Verena, or God forbid one of the other healers, works as well. There are some other interesting combinations like using Zani, Phoebe, and SRover on the Rejuvenating Glow set. This team comes close in damage to the Shorekeeper variant, but it lacks the quality of life that Shorekeeper provides. You'll also need to quick swap a lot more to get the value out of SRover, as she can actually fill up your blaze during Zani's liberation and thus extending Zani's, combo game. One last option is Mortefi, and I personally didn't like him in this team, but it's functional, as Mortefi does provide a heavy attack amplify which buffs Zani's damage. So yeah, just make sure you have either Phoebe or SRover on her team, and sometimes even both. And for the third slot, that's much more flexible, with for example Shorekeeper being my most recommended choice as of Zani's release.
No contest.
Okay, I've got a couple quick showcases for you guys, and I'm actually going to have a more extensive kind of like showcase and demo video for you guys shortly after this one to showcase more of just like what it's like to have Zani and to use her through other parts of the game and not just Tower of Adversity. But here we go. We can see a couple, example team rotations because yes, you're going to have to, remember how to use Shorekeeper or Phoebe in this case in Confession State, because Confession State Phoebe prior to this was basically, well, I mean, frankly, useless. No other character could really utilize the frazzle buff that she provides. But anyway, also this chamber right here, which is the Tower 2-1, is extremely favored towards Zani because it gives 100% Spectro Frazzle Amplify. So that's why this dragon is just like dropping like a rock. You could probably one rotation it with some certain other optimizations. Like for example, you could probably do something like a 3 Nightfall thingy rotation against it, and that might barely be enough. It's really hard to say. But anyway, we can see here that this dragon obviously stood no chance against this setup. This is a premium Zani team at sequence 0 with each of them with their refinement 1 weapons, and you can see here absolutely dumpstered it because once you've invested, in this case, a 6 cost team, it becomes very, very powerful. Zani is definitely going to be a very powerful character in that situation. However, what happens with a fully free-to-play friendly team, and this is assuming you pick the Abyss Surges from the weapon box, which not every free-to-play friendly player or every free-to-play player has done that. So yeah, you definitely take a big hit because obviously SRover does not provide 100% spectral damage amplify like Phoebe does, right? Nor does she stack as much. So you'll see that I think Zani's bar wasn't completely full though, although it's pretty close. But one nice thing about SRover is that you can kind of swap her in to do her enhanced skill during Zani's very long B3, and that actually allows you to extend Zani's rotation sometimes, or at least have perhaps some more blaze for the next rotation. It kind of depends. I don't think I was really playing this team fully correctly. I'm gonna have to forgive me for that, but yeah, it's a learning process for me as well, and I'm sure the community is going to cook up some way better stuff than I have, at least in the amount of time I've spent in this video. But anyway, free to play friendly, we can see that it's taking much longer. The boss is going to take at least one additional rotation, I believe, to take out, which is kind of expected for this more free to play friendly team. And yeah, you're going to notice a big difference without Phoebe. Phoebe is really kind of what pushes Zani over the edge, in my opinion. I can't really emphasize that enough because while SRover is good, she definitely feels like the free-to-play friendly option, if you know what I mean. So yeah, anyway, here we go. I think this should wrap it up, and I will have additional showcases with you guys, including against Hologram and perhaps some other stuff coming up shortly. So there you go. The premium team cleared this in 49.39 seconds, whereas the free-to-play friendly team took me 75.53 seconds. Obviously, both runs can be massively improved and optimized, but hey, this is just my anecdotal testing for you guys to check out.
have all day. Come at me.
So there you go, Zani is an incredible DPS character with a solid amount of additional survivability. And with Phoebe, the two of them are likely going to push your account to the next level. Overall, if you have Phoebe, Zani is a very solid choice for your account. Now, personally, Zani is my new favorite character. She feels amazing to use, and her attacks feel heavy and impactful, and I'm a huge sucker for huge swords. Size really does matter, and Zani fills up all my expectations for an incredibly fun and satisfying gameplay experience in Wuthering Waves. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Went to Lose, signing out.